Hey guys, it's me, Mr. 250, and welcome back to 999. So, quick recap. We are in the captain's quarters, we're going for the true ending, and we've now confirmed that we're in the true ending. So this is where things start to change. So the next thing that's supposed to be different is when we pick up this book. Now, if you remember last time it said all ice, and we're like, well, what does all ice mean? Or is it Alice? But why would they spell Alice wrong? Well, according to some of the things that we've learned earlier in this run, it should become a little more clear. So, we're going to skip this. Okay, now we can't. All ice. Alice! Did that mean... Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in that file. And of course, it's hieroglyphics, which we don't understand. However, I think there's a little bit of something different. This is the library card, mind you, which says it's on the bottom deck. This must be a key to the library in the bottom deck. So it would seem. The bottom deck. The library. Junpei remembered something he heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet. Aha, now this is where I think something interesting might happen out of this. Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the Forest of Knowledge, beneath the navel of the Gigantic. Now, to me, yeah, beneath the navel mean the bottom deck. That's what it sounds like. And the Forest of Knowledge is likely the library. Just my ideas, but it seems like a fairly obvious conclusion. If it did, then was Alice in a room somewhere beyond the library? What's wrong? Junpei blinked. Only then did he notice Ace looking at him, curiosity and concern written across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. Well, except for the fact that, you know, Ace wants to murder everyone. That might be a good reason. He began to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make any sense if Ace didn't know who Alice was supposed to be. So he told Ace everything June had told him. I would have kept some of that to myself, about the Egyptian priestess, about Ice 9. And finally, about the woman who wouldn't melt who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him about how she had been called All Ice, which had eventually turned into Alice. And how she'd been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gordain. And how Gordain had hid Alice somewhere on the ship. And you think that he hid her in a small room beyond the library on the bottom deck? Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess so. I see. Ace stared off into the distance, his hand slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, and his brows drew together. Junpei, have you ever heard of the term CAS? CAS? It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and preserving organic matter. Kind of like cryogenic freezing? That thing that was more or less disproved to actually do anything? Put simply, it's a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Okay? Because that's one of the problems with cryogenically freezing people, is that the ice crystals destroy their cells, so it pretty much kills them. I mean, from all we can detect, it kills them. Okay. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expands as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. As I just said, CAS, however, works differently. The object to be frozen is supercooled using magnetic fields, and then frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food, as an alternative to the normal freezing process, because that can damage food. It's called freezer burn in meat. I don't know if it can damage other things in the exact same way. Now, however, there are rumors that it can be used for other things. Well, what do you mean, other things? Well, there are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Space travel? Are you serious? Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space. That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting. Because the journeys through space take so long that if they froze the person, in theory, when they woke up, it would be like they just unfroze, and the time traveled would be almost none. Theoretically. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wait a minute there. Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you saying that Alice was frozen using that CAS thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice you call Ice 9 does indeed exist, and if CAS were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, you think she could be alive? Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? If she were put somewhere she could reach that temperature, that's nuts. Are you really saying she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right, it does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then we would have an explanation for the man we found dead on the floor. You mean the guy dressed like a captain? Yes. Interesting theory. I didn't really think about that as of yet. He was dead when we found him. Clearly he was murdered. Unless he axed himself. But if he was murdered, then by who? It couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door 1. The door that requires the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened that door? Oh, but they couldn't have gotten in. Unless something outside of our knowledge happened, like the door being propped open. Right. Clearly the two of them could not have opened door 1, or any other door for that matter. I don't know what's up, I just keep getting stuff caught in my throat, sorry. Who else then could have done so? Junpei thought for a second. No, nobody. After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth Key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from EDEC. The four of them then proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with Ace, 7, and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone into the shower room, Ace, 7, and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open door 1. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator to door 2, then... No. That would have been impossible. They had only been gone 5 minutes. No human being could have run into the captain's quarters, killed the man there, and run back in 5 minutes. Well, Junpei, we've been surprised before. This wouldn't be the first time something like that could surprise me as well. It would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? Wouldn't it make sense if his killer was someone who had been in the ship for some time? A person like that would know the ship well. They would know the locations of all the hidden passages and secret doors. To number doors would be nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. Then you're saying the killer was Alice? It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. Ace drew his thumb across his lips thoughtfully. Well, this is all only one possible theory. All ice. Alice. Was Alice indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. The keycard in his hand. It would, he hoped, grant him access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the keycard tighter and shoved it deep in his pocket. Okay, and... So I'm gonna take a look and make sure there's nothing else for this puzzle. If there's not, I'll come back to when something new or different happens. I'm gonna check really quick just to know if I can just start skipping or if I need to be wary of something coming up, so I will be right back. Alright, welcome back. So, the next thing that changed here was, at this point, you know, is when Clover is trying to hide something from us, and then we later notice she has a weird stick in behind her back, that she ends up murdering us with later. Not mad at you, Clover. Just saying, it's kind of hard to get over someone murdering you with an axe. It creates some hard feelings, anyway. But it actually is a little bit different. So she's hiding, and it's like, oh, what is it? What is it? And before she says, oh, nothing, she isn't going to trust Junpei. She has no reason to trust him. But now that they trust each other, she tells him, oh, I have a note. A note? Yeah. I found it in the pocket of the guy with the captain's clothes. It said something about the darkness of the sinister hand, or something, which is an important bit of paper that we know Clover had at a later time, but she was dead at that point, so it'd kind of be useful maybe to have her around. What the heck? Let me see it. But Junpei wasn't going to get to see it. From the other end of the hall, he heard Ace's voice. Hey, Junpei! Clover! What are you two doing? Hurry up! Clover shrugged. I'll show it to you later, alright? Come on, we gotta hurry! Before Junpei could protest, she was gone. Around the corner, and off down the long stem of the L. A note? A note! Junpei was curious. But there was something else that bothered him. Her pocket had been bulging far more than it would from just a note. Junpei did his best to convince himself that it would make sense later, and ran off after Clover, who luckily this time does not have a stick behind her back. Though it could be useful in fending off an attack from Ace, Junpei pushed through the door and found himself in a large room with a large set of stairs. Now we're familiar with this room, so I'm going to skip. Oh, nope. They reached B deck at the same time. Jumpy! Clover! June's face was excited. Something had happened. That much Junpei could tell simply by looking. What's up? Given their situation, he was not inclined to be excited. However, we are going to find out that it was a 9-door. Now, I find it odd. Why are they still not telling us, hey, there's 2 9 doors? Why is that not a thing? See, why? Why aren't they telling us that there are 2 number 9 doors? And just so everyone knows, we have 90 minutes left in the game. Okay, so I think this is different. I'm not sure, but feel free to take a look at this. 7 says, I know I told you I'd explain it earlier, but honestly, there ain't much to explain. After we split off from you guys, the 4 of us got into the elevator on the left. And that took us to the other side of the grate. After that, they headed down another hallway. It took them towards the bow of the ship, and eventually to the number 6 that June and Junpei had found earlier. With 4, they'd been able to open the door and keep going. As usual, they faced a locked door, but had been forced to complete 2 different areas before they could unlock it. Once they were through that door, there was another hallway that went in the other direction, towards the stern. So, on your way, you found the elevator? That's right. So, in other words, you did kind of a lap, huh? You came from that side to this side. Yeah. With that settled, Junpei looked around. So, where's the number 9 door? Over here. Follow me. 7 began walking down the hallway that led towards the stern. Junpei and the others broke into a jog to keep up with them. They had been walking for a while, June in silent step with Junpei when she spoke. You know, it's because of Santa that we're all here right now. Huh? That all 7 of us are going to door 9. You don't get it? Santa's 7 and Lotus. What's their digital root? Well, that equals 9. 9. It's 9? That's right. They could have just left me behind and kept going if they wanted to. But they didn't. Yes. Because Santa wouldn't let them. He said, we can't leave June behind. That's why we went looking for you guys. Well, isn't Santa such a gentleman? And then you got on the elevator and went back to the central staircase. That's right. Well, I wouldn't have called that one. That Santa would be the one to stick up for you. I mean, Junpei felt his eyebrows knit as he considered that. Oh, don't get me wrong. Perhaps June had sensed Junpei's concern. I don't mean that 7 and Lotus said they wanted to leave me behind. We were just talking about it, and Santa objected to it first. June was about to respond when 7 suddenly stopped. In front of them stood a door that we are very familiar with. So this is it? Junpei couldn't see 7's face, but he could see him nod. There's no other place for us to go? Nope. Just look around. At the end of the hallway was a thick iron wall. To the left and the right, other hallways led to the port and starboard sides of the ship, but they were both closed off by thick metal grates. It looked as though 7 was right. The door in front of them was their only choice. Alright, let's get moving. He pulled open the door and walked in. Junpei took a deep breath and followed. So there is in fact the 9 door. The first thing Junpei saw as he entered the room was the number. 9. Like all the others, it was a rough thing, made of red paint. The door it decorated sat on the back wall of a rectangular room. Junpei ran up to it. Indeed, it was a large double door with powerful styling. Something about it was almost majestic, and it made the red paint look especially garish. I mean, maybe that's it, but I would say just the significance of the door itself might invoke different emotions than just normal paint on a door would. I don't know what's up with my voice today. Junpei grabbed the handle and shook. It didn't budge, but then he hadn't really expected it to. The red was bolted to the wall next to the door. Its display read vacant. Finally, they arrived. Junpei felt a flood of emotion wash over him. He felt a chill down his back, and his chest tightened even as his blood began to boil. He was about to speak when... Junpei, look behind you! He turned around. Junpei could scarcely believe what he saw, and now see, okay. Let's just think for a second. Do you think the group were literally so excited about the 9, they opened the door, saw the 9 door, freaked out and left before they could see the second 9 door? Or do you think it was something more along the lines of, I don't know, like they're just so dumb that they looked straight at the door and they said, hey, there's a 9 door, let's all walk backwards without looking backwards so we don't accidentally see it. I don't know. Or maybe as a third possibility, maybe it wasn't originally a 9 door. Maybe it only since we left, it was painted with a 9. I don't know, but it does seem odd that they wouldn't remark that there was a second 9 door. What the heck? What the heck's going on here? His words came slowly and his brain struggled to understand what he's seen. On shaky legs, he made his way to the 9 doors. A small door set parallel to the door they came through. We already know about this, so trying to go through it roughly pretty quick. There's no mistaking the number, and there was a red bolted next to it. He grabbed the handle and shook the door. Not because he expected to open, because he wanted to make sure it was real. Why are there 2 doors? Do you think perhaps one is the right door, and the other is the wrong one? Now, that's an idea. Lotus was skeptical. I don't know about that. That seems unlikely. What makes you say so? Well, think about all the rooms we've been through so far. They're full of puzzles, but there are always hints about how to solve them. I'm pretty sure there aren't any rooms where we just had to go with our best guess and leave it to instinct to solve the puzzle. Do you really think that at the very end of the game, Zero is going to suddenly throw in something that depends entirely on luck? Then you're saying that there's some sort of hint in this room? Interesting. No, I don't think there's a hint anywhere in here. I searched it very well when I was in here before. If you searched it so well, why didn't you know there was a second 9 door? That I would think, like, if you were saying, hey, we found a number 9 door, I would think it would be followed shortly by, hey, we found a second number 9 door. Like, that would be kind of high on the list of priorities of, hey, we're all going to be able to get out of here type deal. I searched it very well when I was in here before. I didn't find anything that might have been a hint, though. Well then, that means... yeah, both of these are the right door. I mean, if you think about it, Zero never actually said there was only one door with a 9 on it. which is correct. The exit is hidden, but it is there. Seek the exit. Seek the door that carries a 9. Junpei began to mutter to himself. So, if there are 2 number 9 doors, if we split it up right, that's not going to work. Junpei blinked and looked up at Clover. She held out her hand. You've got a notebook and a pen, right? Can I borrow them? Well, I don't know why not. It's not like you're going to do any math and prove me wrong. Slightly confused, he pulled them out and handed them to her. At least Clover's good at math. We'll give her that. Better than I am. At least I could do all that math, but I couldn't do it in my head. Look at this. Clover opened the notebook to a blank page and set it down on the desk. Everyone else gathered around her and watched as she wrote down a series of numbers. Okay. So they all lead with a remainder of 16. Oh, I dropped my stylus. But they all lead a remainder of 16. Now, as it is now, that's bad. However, we do know, I mean, personally as the player, not as they know, we do know that there's Snake in this box, and if we can get it open, that would get us out of here. Which would be amazing. In fact, even the number 9 guy, because you can fit 5 people in one door, even the number 9 guy could have gotten out if he didn't get himself killed initially. Now that's interesting if you think about it. That's actually very interesting. Even the number 9 guy could have gotten out of here. We could have gotten everyone out of the ship through these 2 number 9 doors. You get it? The numbers on the top are all the combinations of digital roots of 9. The numbers on the bottom are the people who don't fit. There's only 8 possibilities if we split into 2 groups of 3 or 4 people. So, if 3 people go through the door, then 4 are left behind. If 4 go through, then 3 are left behind. Right? Clover nodded, almost as if she were pleased with herself for solving a difficult math problem. The room went very quiet. Silence lay across everyone like a thick, heavy blanket. No one spoke. Their faces were blank, desperate for something else to look at. Junpei turned his eyes to the room around him. As he did, he began to wonder, what was it? The walls were covered with candles. That is not what I'm trying to do. The wavering flame made the shadows of Junpei and his companions look as though they were dancing. You would think someone would have had to light these candles fairly recently if they're still burning. Unless they are really tall candles. 2 rows of wooden pews filled most of the room. Between them was a strip of rich red carpet. The carpet ran straight through the room, ending at a door that pointed to the stern of the boat. At the other end of the carpet, an altar? It was a recessed space set into the wall between the 2 other doors. Sitting on a raised section of the altar was a coffin. A coffin. A coffin? A coffin! Oh, so Junpei thinks it might be her. No. It couldn't possibly be. We're not past the Forest of Knowledge yet. But if it wasn't, then whose body occupied it? That was as far as Junpei wanted to pursue that line of thought. He decided not to think about the coffin for the time being. At that moment, Seven spoke. There was an edge of humor to his voice, but it was forced.